Ma sì, adesso vorrei postare. No, se sai che si ricorda che devono prendere una pezzo. Non c'è niente da dire. Senza problemi. La porteresti bene. Dove devo mettere sul desktop? Sì. Hello. Yeah. Nice to meet you. No. Sono già impostato, quindi se tu metti... ti ho fatto un casino, vabbè. Ti ho fatto una copia dentro la pennetta. Perché sa... Beh, fa niente. Guarda, sta lì. Quindi devi spostare, non devi vedere. Ah no, perché io vedo... Scusa, se la provo qua in realtà... Tu vedi solo... capito? E poi quando però... faccio... Nota stisana... Questo. No, questo. No, vedetelo. No, troppo piccole. Come? Questo. No, devo scendere. Ok. Sì, ma è solo una, tanto no. No, ci vedo. Va bene. Ma scusa, se posso modificare? Sì. Tolgo lì. Guarda, cosa? Sì, l'ho presa. Ma scusami, ah no, perché devo mettere la presentazione. Non stanno molto più scritto. Non stanno molto più scritto. Mi devi solo questa no. Che cosa? No. No. Potrebbe dire una considerazione, no? Visto che l'articolo l'ha scritto anche io. Troppo piccole però. Tu riuscivi a leggere? Cioè, però non devi staccare la parte della... infatti hai visto che... meglio questo che... Good morning. Just a moment to keep my file to the presentation. No, perché l'hai fatto così. Cosa? No, fai spazio. Scusa, posso fare anche questo? No. Sì. No, scusa, queste non sono... Tu per esempio questo. Però leggo questo. Ok. Questa come si disattiva? Sì, sì.
C'è una cartella.
Hi, Caroline. How are you? Fine.
Yeah.
Want you to be here with us.
Yeah.
With your support, stay one.
Should I put the presentation in any particular place or just on the desktop?
Yes, I put on the desktop.
Yeah, you can put it on the desktop.
Okay, it could be in PowerPoint.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Can't see my pen drive. Should be, I don't know, it should be PC, right?
Yeah, maybe try another one. See if it works. I don't know this one. No, it's only those ones.
Is this it? No.
If it doesn't work, you can send it to by email, and I will put it here if it's easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, this is my colleague. There is a problem in the other classroom because there isn't your colleague as an assistant. Sure. Yeah. Perfect. Because you have a presentation. Okay. As a chair. Okay. Why? Yes, okay, but what do you want? Those are the teacher. I don't know what the 2000.
Yeah, I received it.
Okay.
Yeah. I will open my email, but I. Okay. And technical assistant? Yeah, you can use mine. Okay. You also have the program here.
Okay.
I will put it in the right room. It's this one. Yeah.
We'll start.
Okay.
Pablo, okay. Because at the moment, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. As well. May I do? Yes, yes. Maybe can you No, because no, I need internet because it's on WhatsApp. Come? Prima passo la presentazione. Metodi innovativi e WhatsApp. Ok.
Ci siamo messi un po' a base, no? Non sì, noi ce ne siamo andati uno a uno. Facciamo sai, stamattina.
Grazie.
Do you have the password in the downstairs? I can go check quickly if you want to. Okay, I will go downstairs to check.
Okay.
Yeah, to start first, so I can put it. Do you want to start so I can put it and then I will downstairs to check the password?
Yeah, maybe you have stuff.
No, but I would do. I'm a technical assistant as well, so.
E poi possiamo pure cominciare con qualcun altro, vedete riuscire.
Sempre la stessa cosa. Sì, sta arrivando.
Dove Francesco?
Sì, sta arrivando. Sì.
No, siamo usciti a bar anni fa.
Ok.
Ok, so. Dico solo 4 parole e poi ti passo la parola.
Ok, un attimo, condivido. Ok.
bravissima, un ottimo assistente. Ok.
Ora screen 1, screen 2, questo qua sarà screen 1, vediamo, sì, screen 2 invece, ok, vediamo se si vede.
Ok.
Perfetto.
Questo qua.
Sì.
Foto presentazione.
Sì.
Però posso dire due parole?
Mhm.
Poi ti faccio sapere. Ma la telecamera c'è, scusami.
La telecamera è di qua.
No, dico, mi vedono?
Loro non vedono, vedono sì, vedono.
No, dico, adesso online guardano me. Ah, però la telecamera è ok. Comunque, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session that is a joint session with the three workshops. I read Geog and Mode, M1 Move, and EMEWE. So first of all, I would like Professor Pablo Vanegas Peralta, the other chair that is in the classroom with me. I'm Francesco Daiani. So let's start with the first presentation. That is the title is a Spatial Assessment of PM10 Concentration and Population Exposure in the Emilia-Romagna region, Italy, a Geostatistical Approach. The work has been developed by Beatrice Manganelli, Rachele Vanessa Gatto, Simone Corrado, and Benedetto Manganelli, and it will be presented by Dr. Rachele Vanessa Gatto, that is here, so the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Good morning to everybody. Today we present our study. The work investigates the spatial distribution of particulate matter 10 concentration and the related population exposure in a representative portion of Emilia-Romagna region. The main contribution is the integration of air quality monitoring data, geostatistical interpolation, and high-resolution population data. In this way, we don't only map where PM10 concentration are higher, but we also estimate how many residents are exposed to different concentration level. PM10 is one of the most critical components of air pollution, with significant implications for both public and territorial sustainability. Exposure to particulate matter is associated with adverse health effects, such as respiratory and cardiovascular disease. This is particularly relevant in urban, densely populated areas, where even the concentration is not so high, but it may affect a large number of residents, so is wider spread the effect. This is why the analysis adopts a geographically informed perspective. Air quality policies need to be place-based and not only sector-based. So the Po Valley is widely recognized as one of the most critical air pollution hotspots in Europe. As we can see on the map, this is one critical point especially of the western part of Europe. This is because its geomorphological configuration plays a crucial role, of course. The valley is a closed basin characterized by weak atmospheric ventilation and frequent stagnation episodes. This condition favors the accumulation of particulate matter in this area. And so even the particulate matter originate both from natural conditions, as we said before, but the anthropogenic dimension is relevant especially in urban peri-urban contexts. In emission in sites. In Italy, for example, the residential sector accounts for around 40% of primary PM10 emissions. Transport contributes about the 24%, and with the road traffic representing more than 2/3 of transport-related emission. Industrial process account for about 19% and farming around 11%. A relevant point is that almost the 90% of residential heating emission are associated with biomass combustion. In Emilia-Romagna specifically, road transport contributes about 24% of the total emission in 2022. These two data confirm that the mobility sector and the residential sector energy system are central in policy targets. Concerning the data in the different cities of the study area, annual PM10 concentration have generally declined or stabilized over the last 20 years. In 2022, annual mean values in the main cities remain below the EU annual limit of 40 micrograms per cubic meter. I forget to say that the World Health Organization consider 15 micrograms per cubic meter the threshold that mustn't exceed for a good quality air in the urban context. And for example, Modena, Reggio Emilia, and Parma exceed this annual mean. While Bologna, that I want to anticipate, it's the most populated area in the study area, not exceed this threshold. So even if the urbanization process and the urban areas are related with pollution, in this case with particulate matters emissions, sometimes the population size isn't not overlapping a linear way, no, in compared with the emissions. So the analysis is focused on Parma, Reggio Emilia, Modena, and Bologna primarily, and we collect data from the Regional Agency of Prevention, Environment, and Energy in Emilia-Romagna. The monitoring network includes 22 fixed stations that, as we can see in the map, providing validated annual PM10 data. The second data set is from ISTAT, the 21 population houses census. These population data are available at detailed sub-municipal scale and are also a fine representation of residential settlement in the cluster. The combination of these two data sets is essential because monitoring station provide a reliable PM10 measurement, while ISTAT data allow the estimation of resident population exposed to each concentration class. The methodology is based on geostatistical interpolation. Traditional monitoring networks provide very accurate measurement, but only in a fixed location, of course. They cannot directly describe the PM10 values in the area without a monitoring station. To overcome this limitation, monitoring station data were imported as point data into SGEMS, a Stanford geostatistical modeling software, and a regular grid, 1 kilometers per 1 kilometers, were generated over the study area. The ordinary kriging was selected because there was no global mean and because the spatial process could be interpreted as no second-order stationarity. The semi-variogram analysis tested the directional behavior, so along all the direction, but there was no uneven distribution of this station, so we select the omnidirectional variogram. And among all the tested models, the Gaussian model provided the best fit. So the range is about approximately 55 kilometers of accuracy, of course. The quick interpretation outline a continuous surface of annual mean of PM10 concentration. The resulting images show a clear spatial structure. Higher values generally above 25 micrograms per cubic meter are concentrated along the central lowland urban industrial belt, so in correspondence of Modena, Reggio Emilia, and Bologna. The spatial pattern is consistent with the morphology of the Po Valley and with the distribution of urban and productive activity. But the peripheral and mountains area show lower, smoother values, of course. As we said before, the geographical conditions of the morphology is really important in this case. This reflects both lower anthropogenic pressure and more so favor dispersion conditions. The Argentine map is an important part of the analysis, and the Krieg invariance map show where the interpolation is more reliable and where the estimates require more caution. Lower variance values are found in areas with a denser monitoring network, so in the central part, and this means that the model has strong local information and can better reconstruct the spatial variability. Higher uncertainty appears in areas far from monitoring station, especially in southern mountain sector and some northeast part of the study area. This result is relevant from a governance perspective because it also highlights possible gaps in the current monitoring configuration. So, once we have reconstructed the PM10 emission map in a very detailed way, we overlap so in the residential dataset, and we recognize 4 classes. And the annual PM10 surface were reclassified into the class starting from below 15 micrograms per cubic meters, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, and 25 to 30. The results show a strong territorial polarization. Most of the resident population is concentrated into 20 to 25 and 25 to 30 classes. This means that the exposure burden is mainly located in the medium, high, and high PM10 concentration zone, while the lower classes represent only a small share of the total exposed population. Okay. So these are the lower exposed classes, and of course are mainly associated with mountain and municipalities along the Apennine belt. These municipalities such as Alto Reno Terme, Castelnuovo dei Monti, Franano show a good share of population in lower concentration range. These territories generally have lower settlement density and more favorable dispersion condition, which contribute to reduce the PM10 concentration. However, from an exposure perspective, their demographic weight is limited compared with the lowland urban system. So the lower PM10 classes are spatially important, but they involve a smaller exposed population. While this slide is central to the interpretation of the entire result, Bologna, the most populated municipality in the study area, falls within the 20 to 25 micrograms per cubic meter. So approximately 82,000 inhabitants are exposed within this range. Other municipalities such as Ferrara, Casalecchio di Reno, San Lazzaro di Savena also are mainly related to this intermediate class. The highest class, that is between 25 and 30 micrograms per cubic meters, includes several major urban centers, such as Modena, Reggio Emilia, and Parma. This confirms that the high exposure is not an isolated hotspot, but a broader territorial system. So, PM10 exposure is strictly embedded in the geography of urbanization in Emilia-Romagna. The relation between population exposure is not linear, as we can see. Bologna is the clearest example. It is the most populated city, but it does not fall within the highest PM10 class. And however, it exposes a very large number of residents because of its demographic weight. And these findings highlights relevance for planning environmental governance. Policies should so consider both pollutant intensity and the number of the exposed inhabitants. And this support the need for geographic and differentiated intervention. For example, expansion of urban green areas, adoption of cleaner technology, strengthening the public transport system. In conclusion, so the just statistical interpolation combined with high-resolution population data can support place-based policies and help identify the area where mitigation action may produce the greatest collective benefits. Thank you.
Okay. So, are there any questions online or in the classroom? Okay, thank you very much, because it's interesting. Also, it could be an idea for future perspectives to think about indicators, or think about that, for example, the PM emission with this variable that we are mentioning that you find now. At the end, for example, the green areas, have you talked about this possibility?
Of course, this kind of evaluation doesn't take into account other kind of variables that could influence this kind of analysis. For example, I was thinking to the ventilation or the presence of green areas. How could this kind of elements or affect or improve the quality of the air? But even, for example, this kind indicators that maybe could integrate this kind of elements could be helpful in this case.
Thank you very much. So let's go on with the next presentation. The also.
Yes.
Let's go on with the next presentation. But Francesco Romoli is in the classroom. Okay, I will go on with the next one, the suburban label gap, calculating the place of residence, labels with calling land cover exposure in Poland, developed by, sorry for my pronunciation, Veronica Kalejeva, yes, and plot our webmail. Okay, and the paper will be presented by Dr. Veronica Kalejeva. So the floor is yours.
Just checking everything. So thank you, Francesca, for introducing me. Today, I would like to present a paper on what we call the suburban label gap, the mismatch between the land cover indicators, settlement categories, and how the residents themselves perceive the urban environment. The suburbanization and general urban sprawl in Poland is a widely discussed topic, mostly in the context of huge public costs generated by discursive development. And when I started to explore this, I found that it's highly possible that different actors actually might mean different things, but one same servers. So it was how the idea of this regulation was born. And I was really curious if if land cover signal that is mostly used by scientific settlement category, which is highly operated by policymakers, and everyday place label translate one into another. And if we actually speak about the suburbanization in the same way. So, so the paper is basically about how these layers translate or fail to translate into one another. And to test this, we needed one data set that will basically combine all three layers: the self-declared place of place labels, how people describe where they live in the category they recognize, the settlement size category as a proxy for urban or rural development, and the land cover profile exposure. So if these three layers would more or less match, it means that we have the suburbanization defined. If they don't, we have what we call the suburban label gap. So empirically, we based on the data set from 2020. It was a big survey study on residential attractiveness and urban sprawl in Poland. It was a national sample, quota-based, of working age adults. And we overlaid the respondents' geolocations with Korean land cover dataset. And methodologically, we extracted the data about the Korean land cover classes according to the geolocation of responders, and built up the exposure profile. So this map shows the physical monitoring layer against the distribution of the respondents. That's our respondents. So the first result is that the sample is strongly located in built-up contexts, and this marked orange cell is relevant to discontinuous urban fabric. The layer that is usually corresponds to urban sprawl dispersal indicators and widely used in land cover monitoring. So it was the first baseline for the first layer. This table presents the distribution of the settlement structure. This is important because it's often used to define urban to rural contexts, and the other thing why it's important, it's perfectly, more or less perfectly reflects the national structure of the settlement categories in Poland. So it proves us that actually this data set works really well. And the third indicator was used was actually the social labels. The question was asked to the respondent, is the place where you live, and they had to choose. And what is important here, the striking result is that only 2.1% of the whole data set declared that they live in suburbs of a city. So the suburbanization label is almost absent as a current self-description, even though the land cover indicator told us particular another story. So, and this figure shows the self-labels are not random. Many categories alike. For instance, villages are almost fully covered. But this alignment is not perfect, and the suburban label remains marginal, even is in the largest settlement category. We suggest that suburb is not a stable territorial description. Suburbs are marked here by purple color, so we consider it was almost of the metropolitan region in a bit smaller city, and very marginal in small units. So these two numbers are actually what summarizes the main empirical contrast. On one hand, almost 60% of the respondents were physically located in discontinuous urban fabric, but only 2% describe their current locations as suburbs. This proves that the physical category does not automatically translate into the social perception labels and vice versa. And this slide presents a bit more nuanced story because it shows that the suburban category is much more prominent when the respondents were asked about their desirable location, where they would like to live. When they were asked this, almost 13% said that they prefer to live in the suburban area. Why it's important, it says that the suburban label is not taken and rejected not only because people, residents do not recognize it at all. This label is functioned in public perception, but it's not just desirably taken as a current self-identification. The final empirical layer concerns the perceived negative consequences of this urbanization, and it also shows that in public perception it mostly found this very, very functional language, because most of the respondents say that they think that the most prominent consequences are transportation. It's increased transport and increased traffic jams, increased time of commuting, and the difficulties in public transport. The second place was salary difficulties, and the categories that are mostly often communicated by policymakers, they have the smallest statement. So the main conclusion is suburbanization cannot be interfered from a very simple classification. It needs to translation. For urban research, it matters because none ever of these categories, even long monitoring, has serious limitations. And even if to compare different land cover layers, we will have different results. So while studying suburbanization, we cannot rely only on one classification. They should be compared. And the other implication is that while communicated, the public needs to public. We need to use very specific language that is translatable to the social perception. And coming from our research, it says that probably the preferable way is to speak in functional categories. So the everyday problems, the everyday perception would be translated in what people want to take as their label. Yeah, thank you very much.
Are there any questions online or in the classroom? No, because it's interesting to be taught as a method also to monitor the phenomenon of mass growth, for example, in this case. Only question about the questionnaire. How many people interview them, in which way? So there is only a direct question face-to-face, or there is also a characterization of the people that have been interviewed?
It was also it was also
showing the question, no?
Yeah, this is a sample. It's almost 1,000.
1,400.
Yes.
But there is also a cluster for the typologies of people interviewed, or there is only the question to
Yes, this is a typology. We used quota sampling, so we keep the structure of the Polish population for gender. For age in some category, I will say, right, and in regional distribution and in education. So we try to cover all the populations. And the main limitation was that there is only working age adults. It means from 18 to 64. Why we couldn't reach the elder participants?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So going with the next one is Alice Quadrella, no? Okay, so the paper is a structured review on methodologies for measuring socio-economic impacts of the equal urban opportunity for women. So very interesting. So, their point of view.
Yes.
the urban gender is presented by the author that is Dr. Barreto. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Which one is it? Barreto. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Today I present research focus on the methodologies used to measure the socioeconomic implication of unequal urban opportunity for women. Okay, the presentation follows the structure of the paper, so we will have little conceptual framing, then there is the review method, and then the main methodological families emerging from the literature, but also at the end, as a result, the big gap that I found in literature currently. So I start from a simple point. Urban space is not experienced equally by all its users. In the literature reviewed in the paper, women's fear in the city is not interpreted only as an individual or psychological response, but as a structural expression of urban inequality and social vulnerability. It affects how spaces is perceived, navigated, used, and therefore influence the real opportunities women can access in everyday urban life. Women's use of streets, parks, and urban spaces shaped by everyday risk management, previous experiences, care, responsibility, and unequal condition of access. This topic belongs to accessibility appraisal because fear change not only how women move in the city, but what opportunities they can actually reach. This framing is also consistent with the international policy agenda. UN Women's Safe Cities and Safe Public Spaces program treats women's safety as a condition for full urban participation, while the broader SDG framework links gender equality with inclusive cities and freedom from violence. This is important from my research, or this starting point of the research, because it means that women's fear should not be treated just as a safety problem, but as a condition that affects access, participation, and different urban opportunities. The literature about this topic is rich, but still fragmented across urban studies, transport, geography, criminology, and public health, and of course, gender studies. We now have many ways of measuring fear and perceived insecurity in cities, but far fewer ways to translating this condition into socioeconomic indicators that are useful for planning and new urban policies. So the real problem and research question is not only empirical, but methodological. How we can translate or how can the women's fear be transformed into measurable evidence on access, burden, and unequal urban opportunity? This is the point from which the research objective emerge, and the purpose of the paper is to review the methodologies used to operationalize the socioeconomic implication for gendered urban insecurity and urban contexts. The paper presented in this conference does not aim to represent the whole literature. Instead, it reconstructs the methodological architecture of a targeted subsample in which women-centered studies and transferable methodological studies are analyzed together.
I follow a little bit a Prisma methodology. So I start the first step of my workflow shows the scale of the initial research that are 15,000 paper. The research process began with a very broad retrieval, and the purpose of this first stage was to maximize coverage before applying stricter inclusion and exclusion criteria. The second stage, the corpus was drastically reduced through the first screening step, and the workflow moves from the large initial retrieval to 218 records, meaning that the titles, keywords, and abstract were filtered against the review criteria. The following step further refined the corpus to 183 records, and this reflected full text review and the elimination of records that were not sufficiently aligned with the aims of the study, especially in relation with to women's urban insecurity, so the gender lens and the gender point of view, and methodological relevance and planning significance. Spatial. The final step of the workflow leads to the methodological subsample of 89 papers, but also to the final corpus that is composed by 119 papers. In this research, I report now results. Some results about the final corpus, whole corpus, so 119, and some deeper analysis on the 89 records. Each paper was coded, so then the phase after the research and filtering is the coding, define the coding protocol. I code each, the main coding dimension include the urban domain, core phenomenon, explained in the record, socioeconomic dimension, data sources, if there are data, or data-driven analysis, method families, and planning use. This was essential because it allowed me to compare the studies systematically and move from thematic reading from literature to the methodological taxonomy that is the aim of this research. The coding protocol was also designed to support a planning and appraisal-oriented interpretation for the corpus and not just the thematic one. Passing to the results. The first results is temporally. The field of this research is clearly expanding, especially after 2021, with a strong concertation of publication between in the last 3 years. This suggests that women's urban insecurity and unequal urban opportunity are becoming much more visible, and research real research topics. Also, that methodological innovation is accelerating faster than conceptual consolidation. The full corpus is hybrid. So it is not made only of women-centered studies, but overlapping lexical and methodological groupings. The strongest strength is the broader corpus are planning and policies, women and gender inequality, visual computational approaches such as machine learning and GeoAI, and survey spatial approaches. This confirms that the field sits at the intersection of urban studies, gender research, and data-driven spatial methods. Because I follow now the analysis in the focus on this of the paper of for this conference that is on the 89 paper subsample, and in this sample there are core papers from the analytical inner core, while methodological support papers help to reconstruct the broader methodological repertoire used to adapted in the field. This choice make it possible to concentrate on methods without claiming they represent the entire theoretical debate. I apply both viewer visualization, and the map confirmed that the dominant vocabulary of the methodological subsample is still concentrated on visual urban perception, computational approaches, and built environment analysis. At the same time, a substantial gender-sensitive component is clearly visible, and together with a small but important class related to access, mobility, and opportunity. It is useful because it shows both the computational turn of the field and the still emerging space by socioeconomic and accessibility related vocabulary. In particular, one of the clusters is the urban environment related to the resident and also resident behavior. And for the methodological part, there are visual elements, street view images, and policymaker. Another cluster is about public transport and access opportunity, so it's more related with the service, transport, and accessibility. The taxonomy of the five methodological family emerged from this subsample. These four methodological family are overlapping rather than mutually excluding, but together they provide a clear taxonomy of how the field currently studies women's urban insecurity and unequal urban opportunity. These four families are methodologies for operationalizing fear and perceived insecurity, methodologies for capturing avoidance and constrained mobility, methodologies for measuring accessibility and socioeconomic opportunities, and methodologies for measuring time, cost, and mobility burden. The first one is the strongest and most consolidated family of methodologies in the field of reaching tool of measuring fear and perceived safety, ranging from surveys, with Likert scales, psychometric inventories, and street view imagery. There is also the use of GeoAI and deep learning. The key point is that the field is rich but fragmented. There is a strong methodological development, but limited standardization across contexts, different contexts. The second family focus on fear and the social behavior. So it capture altered route, path choices, nighttime restriction, mobility adjustment, and the reduced use of parks and public spaces, in particular by night. This trend is conceptually crucial because it makes visible the transition from perceived insecurity to restricted urban practice. The third family introduces a major conceptual shift. This family of methodologies is about the shift from mobility to opportunity. So the question is no longer only where women feel unsafe, but which opportunities become less reachable because of fear and constrained mobility. The methods used here include the location-based accessibility indicators, cumulative opportunity measures, and transport accessibility frameworks. This is the last family and also the one of the least developed but most policy relevant strengths. It concerns the burden generated by insecurity term of additional travel time, higher transport expenditure linked to safer but more costly choices, and greater dependence on accompaniment or other less efficient but safer travel option. I don't know how is the time, but I'm concluding. So yes, so there are some problem of linked. So conclusion, I conclude finding the big gap of this beginning, the beginning of this research. So the key gap is missing socioeconomic evaluation of fear. The literature is now strong in measuring fear with different methodologies and perceived insecurity, and in some cases also their behavioral consequences. But it's still much weaker in estimating their wider socioeconomic impact. We still have limited evidence on how insecurity reduces access to jobs, services, public spaces, and in general, everyday urban participation. There's still insufficient assessment of the broader economic effect of fear on mobility system, local commerce, and service uses, and part also as an impact on the real estate market. Future development of this research should be the construction of planning reading indicators that do not stop at fear, but estimate consequences in urban and socioeconomic terms. Two possible directions proposed the paper also in the paper are safe access to essential service index or a gendered mobility burden indicator. More broadly, future work should integrate perception-based method with accessibility analysis, behavioral data, and socioeconomic evaluation in order to estimate lost accesses, extra travel time, additional transport cost, and in general, the reduced participation in urban life of women. Another important development would be to differentiate more explicitly by the urban context and vulnerable zone, and to extend the analysis to the wider urban economy, including local retail services, public transport, and also maybe also tourism-related attractiveness and residential and real estate effect. So thank you very much for the attention, and I'm happy to answer to possible questions.
Any questions online on the class? The software that you use to screen or select
Yeah.
Problem is
No. For the research, the literature review, mainly I look up in to papers published in Scopus, but also since it's a really high related topic with European and UN reports, I also consider not indexed scientific reports. So, for example, United Nations Women Program or SDGs reports about this topic. No, I just have this elaboration with those viewers, so on based on keywords, based also on time and the location of authors, and also on yes, title and abstract, but at the end, the 89 papers, I read them. So it's, yes, I don't use AI in this moment, but maybe in the future development of this research, I think that I try to amplify a little bit the corpus, and then it's necessary also to use like deep learning, text mining maybe.
I think you more or less answered my question.
Okay.
But anyway, I would like to ask you, the studies that you review are mainly in Europe, I think, or
No.
You haven't shown the location.
Yes.
No,
it's just because I want to focus much more on methodologies than because it's not a complete literature review. So for doing that, to have a real picture of what is the current situation of literature review, I think that I have to use the filtering coding a little less strict. So not only methodological, but also like gender studies or gender urbanism in general. In this moment, I avoid them. So when I will develop the whole literature review, I think that is necessary, of course, understand where are from authors, but the big amount, of authors are coming from United States and India. India is one of the most developed countries on this topic.
Because what the thing is that the methodology is important, but for the methodology is also important the culture, because I think that it could also affect the study, the culture in which you are doing the studies.
Yes, is a wider...
because in some way the place where you apply the methodology is important.
Yes, this problem is wide. Is cover all the globe. Is in particular more studied and more visible in urban areas, while in rural areas are less studied. There are less studies about this, but United Nations and also sustainable strategies, they discovered that there is a global coverage of these kind of problems for women in cities. So it's
okay.
Thank you for the comments.
The next presentation is assessing the livability in the European metropolitan cities by interpreting the property markets, developed by Federico Scala, Giuseppe Cerulo, Francesco Siga, and Francesco Tajani, and the paper will be presented by Dr. Federico Scala. The floor is yours. And then I see.
Can you tell me which one it is? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Federico Stara, PhD student from Sapienza University of Rome. Today, I will present a study called Assessing the Livability in the European Metropolitan Cities by Interpreting the Property Markets, co-authored with Professor Francesco Tajani, Professor Francesco Sica, and Giuseppe Cerullo from Sapienza University. Let me start with an observation. When people buy a home, they are not only paying for square meters, they are paying for a location, for a clean air, green spaces, safety, and wildlife that surrounds that home. In economics, we call these things amenities. And there is the key point of the study. The price of house captures them, almost like a sensor. Now, European cities today live with attention. On one side, they are more attractive than ever for tourists, investors, for global market. On the other side, this same attractiveness puts pressure on the people who actually live there. over tourism, of course, rising costs, crowded service. Step by step, the historic center becomes a postcard, and residents move out. This friction is the starting point of our work. But before measuring livability, we have to admit a problem. Livability is hard to define. The literature connects it to life satisfaction, to subjective well-being, to how good it feels to live in a place. This is a beautiful idea, I think, but it is a difficult one. As several authors points out, livability is multi-dimensional and very hard to measure in an object way, and across different cities and different countries. So we made a methodological choice. Instead of measuring livability directly, we let the market measure it for us. Why the property markets? Because it is a market of amenities. When someone chooses a home, that choice already contains a judgment about the quality of the place. So prices are not only the value of bricks or square meters. They incorporate the value of surrounding contexts, environment, social and cultural. This is this view has a long tradition. The amenity-based theory explains why, for example, the center of Paris is rich, while some other downtowns are poor. When the historic center has a strong advantage in amenities, it attracts when the welfare of population and value concentrated there. Glaser and colleagues called this the consumer city, a city that succeeds not only because it's produced, but because it's offers a high quality of life. And empirical studies confirm it. Elements like trees, weather, and open view can raise the value of home by roughly 8 to 10%. But there is also a worrying in the literature. These environmental benefits are fragile. A degraded environment or a saturated public space can cancel the premium that nature would normally generate. So the value of greenery is real, but it's also sensitive to context. With this background, our research question becomes clear. First, which components of livability are reflected in housing prices? Second, among them, how much does environment and in particular urban greens actually weigh? And third, does this change between the center and the periphery of a city? Let me know now. Start with the method. We use the hedonic price method. The idea is classic. The price of a complex good like a house can be decomposed into the implicit value of its single characteristics. These implicit prices are not directly observable. The market only shows us the final price. The model helps us to separate the parts. We built two regression models, one for the city center, one for the periphery. We used a long linear form where the dependent variable is the natural logarithm of the price of square meters. This form fits this type of data well, and it's widely used in the real estate studies. Now, one technical point that really matters for the results. Our explanatory variables are measured in very different units. Euros, percentages, number of inhabitants. You cannot compare them directly. So we apply a min and max normalization. We scale every variable to the same interval between 0 and 1. This makes the estimated weights comparable. And this is exactly what allows us at the end to speak about the RSC among the variables. Without this step, comparing them would be not fair. Our sample is 53 European cities, all of them with more than 500,000 inhabitants. We select them to represent the variety of the continent, north and south, large and very large, tourist capitals, industrial hubs. We kept the models simple and transparent with 4 explanatory variables. First, cost of living, approximate for purchasing power and for the local price level. Second, the quality of life, broad multidimensional index from Numbeo. It combines many things like safety, healthcare, pollution, commuting time, climate, and more. Third, the tree cover, the share of the city covered by urban green. This is our key environmental indicator, and it comes from the European Environment Agency, EEA. And fourth, the population, a measure of urban scale and of pressure of potential demand. One point I want to stress, all our data comes from open and accessible sources. This makes the studies transparent and fully replicable, of course. The descriptive numbers already tell a story. Prices the center to go from about 2,300 euros per square meters in Palermo up to almost 13,000, almost 13,000 in Paris. It covers ranges from only 6% in Zaragoza to nearly 6% in 60% in Genoa. So we are comparing cities that are very, very different, I know, from each other. Now the results. Both models perform well. The R squared is around 0.9. Sorry, this is high. All 4 variables are statistically significant, and the models are robust. We tested from 4 specification errors for heteroscedasticity and 4 structural breaks. All the tests are passed, and the various inflation factors confirm there is no collinearity between our variables. But the most interesting result is the ERC, and here the 2 models agree. In both the center of and the periphery, the cover tree is the strongest driver of housing prices. Stronger their cost of living than population, and this is the key point, stronger than the Board of Quality of Life Index. Now, the comparison between center and periphery is interesting in itself. The ordering of the variables in the same in both areas, but the weight of the of the tree cover is slightly higher in the center than in the periphery. In other words, green is valued everywhere, but in the dense central core, where open spaces is scarce, the markets reward even more. Scarcity makes the amenity more precious. What does this mean? It means that the environmental quality is not an abstract value. It is directly capitalized into prices. People see trees, parks, and shade. They recognize them and they pay for them. It is visible, it is tangible, and the markets respond. The wider quality of life matters too. Safety, healthcare, pollution, commuting, these things are real and important, but their effect on price is more indirect. They are harder to see than a green park in front of your window. So the market reacts to them more slowly and more quickly. This is even more relevant today because of the urban heat island effects. In a warming climate, green is no longer only beautiful. It is becoming a basic condition of livability. And the market seems to understand this before policy does. There is one finding I want to highlight because it is close to home, Rome, my home city, as one of the lowest tree cover values among the European capitals in our sample, and yet prices stay high. This is exactly the situation that planners should worry about. A high cost but low livability market, a place where demand is disconnected from environmental quality. And this is connects back to over-tourism. If green space is an urban service because simply a tool to raise value for tourists or for wealthiest segments, then residents are slowly pushed out. We see displacement, we see gentrification, we see residential function of a city slowly disappears. The challenge for urban policy is to protect the very amenities that make a city desirable and to keep them for the people who live there. This is, in the end, a question about right to the city. So let me conclude. Housing prices can work as a sensor of urban livability, and what they tell us is clear. In European metropolitan cities, urban grid infrastructure is a central and measurable driver of value. Our study, of course, has a limit. The sample could be larger. The data partly come from a crowdsourced platform, which we should keep in mind. And the quality of life index should be broken down to the single components. We want to understand which ones, safety, pollution, healthcare, really move the price and which one do not. This is the direction of future work. But the main message is simple. If we want our city to stay livable and inclusive, we have to protect this green, their service and their residents together, not as separate goals, but as one. Thank you so much for your attention.
Any questions in the class?
I have one. Thank you for your interesting presentation. We as a research group studied social vulnerability and social vibrancy some years ago. And the aspect that influenced more the real estate market at time was the social vulnerability. So how people in this research you would like change the point of view and see that greenery now is much more so environmental, the quality is much more interesting.
Yes.
And I think that is something that is very interesting because, of course, real estate market is the representation of what also people perceive and also policies plan. And my question is, do you think that these results are useful also for the policies about these cities?
Thank you for your question. So interesting. I think yes, I think so because the perception of tree cover in cities are more important for people who live better. No, and the city of 15 minutes is the point, the center point of the. To say the idea in this program, I think it's a good point of view. Thank you.
Methodological question: how many observations we had for every city, or it was on the one data, it was what the source of the data?
Okay, we get data from Numbeo and from European Agency, European Environment Agency, EEA, from the tree covers, and from Numbeo the life quality index, and for 53 cities in Europe, that the population is over 500,000 people.
So it was one number per city, yes? Or
Yes.
I'm just wondering how it would look like if you take smaller than because cities are very diverse, yes?
Yes.
When we operate on averages, it still says a lot.
Yes.
I'm wondering how it looks in the original.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You present the case of Rome as a special case.
Yes.
It means that it doesn't fit completely the model.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, because the prices are very high, but you don't have the green space.
Yes.
But it will be also the same for other kind of cities. If more cities that the model doesn't fit exactly, and adjust the model according to the size of the city or some special conditions.
No. The other cities appreciate the tree covers in the real estate market, and the price of the real the house or in general are about this context, the tree covers. Thank you.
Just to understand if I understood. So we can say that Rome or perhaps also London are in contradiction with the rule that prices represent the livability level of the city. Because locally, probably low level or livability of their neighborhood compared to other cities. No?
Yeah. I think so, because I price it because the city are historical. I don't know. Yes, I think it is. But in the European context, the quality of life is in the same floor like the tree cover. I think because maybe in Italy we don't live in like a European context. I think, but it is my impression. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have something that is very interesting results that find obviously the contrast when you talk about the living home. And it's also for us it's strange because they also tried to go into that this analysis to a functional analysis. Because in this case, the international analysis with not so many individuals, so the database is presented as a very different cities, whereas there is another application with 400 individuals, so some prices to Rome. And using an econometric analysis, we saw that by taking into account the different variables, among them also the green areas, if you want to improve the statistical reliability of the model, you have to take out the green area. So very strange. So because at the beginning, the model is the model that takes it, but the adjusted the regression, for example, adjusted the coefficient of the definition is not so high. Whereas we take the AI adjusted the coefficient of the definition to take out the area. So maybe there is a different perception of the area that apart from academic studies, we are trying to interpret also with condition of disagreements, not maybe that, so people that tend to prefer other factors, extrinsic factors that like the proximity to the job, no, to the metro, or to other situations. Thank you. Sorry, but thank you for this question, this discussion. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And finally, the last presentation. The title is sorry, the title possible the relationships between the spread of tourism and urban zoning, developed by Francesco Rotondo, Paola Pettinuno, and Samuele Labate, and the work will be presented by Professor Francesco. So, Francesco,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, good morning, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. As you know, as you probably know, tourism in Italy is changing its models, because as everywhere in the world today with Airbnb, booking, we have a lot of tourism diffusion in a lot of residential houses, so not specific oriented to tourism. And this has a lot of conflict and question with resident. So it became, as in the first phase of urban planning, one of the factors that we are wondering if urban planning can contribute to organize and govern in some sense. So in this work that we have done with geostatistical expert, my colleague Paola Perchinuno and Samuele Labate, we have tried to understand, in the case of Apulia region, what are the spatial distribution of Airbnb accommodation, and if they are associated or not with urban zoning categories. Because if they are associated, probably we can think about possible forms of regulation of this phenomena also by urban planning, not only by urban planning, but also with urban planning. To do that, we have used a well-known geostatistical method that is DB-scan, density-based spatial clustering of application with noise, who has the capacity to create its own clusters. So we don't need to assign a rule to identify the clusters, but the system is capable to identify clusters by itself. Then compare Turing clusters that we have obtained by the use of DB-scan with urban zoning, and then discuss the implication for urban planning and possible tourism regulation. This is the map of the work that we have done, that I have explained. Fortunately, it is very interesting, in my opinion, that inside Airbnb publish regularly the listing of their offer, so you can visualize where they are. And naturally, for urban zoning, we have used municipal planning documents. So this is what you take just using inside Airbnb data for Apulia region. What we have asked to DB-scan is based on two key parameters.
the maximum distance within which 2 points, that in our case are 2 Airbnb offer, 2 Airbnb houses that are considered neighborhood, and the minimum number of neighboring points required to consider it a cluster in some sense. And these are the rules. DB-scan follow normally these three definitions. Points directly density reachable, so a point that is inside this distance, density reachable, and density connected, that is related to the consideration that two areas are related to one each other. We have chosen DB-scan just for the reason that I've said, that doesn't need that you define, you predefine what are the distances or what is the cluster that you need, and it is capable to search and to find the clusters. So, for example, in the case of Apulia region, we have found that we have different kind of Airbnb offer in different areas of Apulia region, differently characterized by the type of the offer they have. So starting from this point of Gargano to the city center of the capital of the region, Bari, to this big area done by 3 and more municipalities with the core center in Monopoli. Then we have all the Salento area governed by the capital Lecce. Then we have tried to understand by DB-scan if the cluster were characterized by a sort of accommodation profile. And we have found that, for example, if we search just Airbnb listings characterized by an entire home dedicated to tourism, the distribution of cluster appears like that. If we search for Airbnb accommodation characterized by a hotel offer, we have another distribution, that is this one. If we search for private rooms, naturally, distribution is more dispersed and fragmented. And at the end, we can say that each kind of this cluster have a sort of characteristic related to the type of accommodation profile. The same thing, so we have finalized the study into two cases. The first one is a city, so the capital of the region, Bari, that has a tourism that is related not just to the sea or summer, or but is also related to meetings, congress, and other situation. And we have tried to compare the distribution of Airbnb listings to the municipal zoning, urban zoning. And we have seen that in the case of Bari, for example, we have the major concentration in the A zone that in the Italian urban planning system represent the historical center normally, or the centers characterized by architectural and historic value. And then in the second zone, that is named Zone B, that is normally a zone made during the 19th century and very near to the historic one. We have a limited, very limited presence in Zone C, that is the expansion urban planning zone. where we have normally also peripheries, for example, or degraded zone. And we have almost no accommodation in agricultural areas. So the presence is really concentrated in those quarters. In the second case, that is monopoly, it is a medium city of 50,000 inhabitants, but with a wonderful coastal offer, with many beaches and so on, and historical center also very attractive. We see, for example, that historic zones remain dominant. So the zone A and the zone B, as described by the general urban plan, remains very attractive. But we have a significant diffusion into agricultural areas, and coastal and rural tourism coexist, and they are normally also sort of balance with historic center. They are very diffuse, especially in this zone, as you can see by this image. These are the major differences between the two cases. And so we can conclude that DB-scan effectively can help to identify what are the functions of tourism territories. Short-term rentals are strongly associated with historic and consolidated urban areas. And we can also say that different planning frameworks can produce different spatial tourism patterns because they are related to the way urban plan can govern phenomena like that. And so urban zoning can support sustainable tourism governance because we can orientate in some sense the possible uses of those houses in different zones using urban planning. As for example, some municipal authorities are starting to do. The first one that I think in Italy is Florence, but I know that some hypotheses and actions have been made also in Amsterdam. It is another city very attractive from touristic point of view. So we can have this possible policy implication because urban planning authorities could use this result to monitor short-term rentals. That is the first thing to do to understand phenomena, but also to govern this phenomena that is very fast and that changes very fast. Because, you know, if we have a war in the North Africa, a part of the market, of the tourist market, goes in Italy or in Greece or in other parts, and so on. So you can have a sort of movement of tourists related to international situation. You can easily identify and understand also tourism pressure areas. We can support zoning revision and orientation because it is necessary to change zoning rules to adapt to new situation. And so we can try by urban planning to balance tourism growth and housing affordability. So in our future work, we intend to extend the analysis to other municipalities because this is a phenomena very context related. It's very high to have a big rule valid for any kind of context. I think, and we think that it's very useful to apply quantitative spatial statistics to understand and to orientate this phenomena, investigate temporal evolution of this phenomena, and so contribute to develop planning tools to support sustainable tourism policies. This is a very brief bibliography, and thank you very much for your attention.
Are there any questions? Yes.
I have one. Do you think that maybe the future development correlated Airbnb offer with the touristic experience? Because on the platform, we see that also housing, also staying in cities for tourists, in many cases presented as a touristic experience, so a local experience. So do you think that could be a good correlation also for clustering?
Really, I haven't thought about that, but I think that this is a good idea because normally we evaluate our stay there. So probably it can be useful to use this kind of evaluation of the places to understand also how the tourism clients, we can say, yes, orientate their choice. Thank you very much.
Only maybe a consideration because the website was Airbnb, no?
Yes.
Maybe it could be interesting also to integrate the data with other websites because
yes.
I explained the reason because Airbnb asks a more fair compared, for example, for Booking. So a lot of people, I can say it
yes.
in Rome, in this situation, prefer, for example, other websites than Airbnb. So you cannot find them. If you cannot find them on Airbnb.
Yes, that's true. So,
also,
yes, the question is that Airbnb publish its data, and it's very easy to take the booking. It is so transparent.
We are developing a similar approach, oriented to quite close potential implications. I think that the evolution of this phenomenon is something that is very relevant. Time matters a lot. How the increase could be monitored, evaluated, something is very challenging for us. We have the same problems and the same with the data, of course. No?
Yes, because we haven't.
Yeah, you probably link, I think, the offers with how this is supply and availability in the market, because Airbnb are very connected. Probably Airbnb is not representative of the whole supply.
Surely not. As Francesco said.
About clustering. Clustering probably is the simplest method that we can adopt for impact analysis. We applied different methods, but finally, sometimes cluster is very fast, very efficient, and allow to recognize group of that are quite consistent with the territorial ontology, urban settlements, and so on. Do you have any recommendation about clustering? Specific.
No, it's very interesting question because the first part of your question, I agree because time is effectively a considerable criteria because probably if we analyze this phenomena in different epochs, we can see that we have a sort of curve. After a certain point, we start to have conflicts between housing market offer and tourism offer. So probably the best thing to do for a municipality is to observe, and when they are very near to this kind of point, they start to stop or regulate in a hard way this kind of phenomena. Is not easy because we know that municipalities normally haven't this kind of approach to analyze phenomena and so on. So they are more, fast policy phenomenon related. So the second part of your question, talking about clustering, I think that you can choose different rules for different contexts, first of all. But secondly, I'm not really in love with a certain choice, in the sense that, in my opinion, the great possibility that today we have using this kind of method is, as a professor like Silvana Lombardo has said to us, because they offer a sort of window of knowledge. So you can change parameters and analyze what is the results that we have, and so how much a certain criteria affect results, so that you can show to decision maker, hopefully, if they would like to hear your knowledge, that how these criteria affect results, and so how we can intervene, how we can manage the use of these criteria to orientate consequently policies. So, in my opinion, it's very useful to have different criteria to create clusters. And the important thing is that the criteria is clear, transparent, and so we can understand how you have gained those results. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco. So, probably the reader will try to summarize this very quickly. So the main, I will put into the main keywords of this session. Very interesting thing, the different arguments, the different issues. So tourism, mobility, the gap, pollution, so environmental problem. Also dynamicity, so the time, rural areas, all issues related to focus not only on the single, but on the communities. So it's interesting for me because generally I try to study the convenience of the public-private partnership of the public, but also of the private investor that is involved in a particular situation. Dealt with different methods and models of evaluation and planning that can be what emerges and what has been highlighted, that they can be a very valid support in order to improve the quality of life for people. So thank you very much. I hope to see you in Bali. Actually, because the little longer, Benjamin is here. And enjoy also today this session, the next session. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Pablo.